Hello, welcome again. This is Excelsior Trading, which is my username on eBay and has been for a number of years. Uh, Nearly 1,000 positive feedback. Pretty proud of that. And we're doing another watch review today. I'm Don Carlo. I'm your host, and we're going to be reviewing my watch, the Sarg011, Seiko Sarg, SARG 011. And yeah, I put it on this NATO strap. It came on a very nice brown leather strap. And I chose to never use it because one, Seiko's not renowned for world-class leather straps, and two, I figured if I ever resell the watch, it'll be a nice selling feature to have the box, all the paperwork, the strap with the tags, and to be able to declare that the strap's never been worn. It might be an incentive. Mm. That's if I ever sell this watch. That's really a big if for a couple of reasons. But let me get it off the wrist here so you can get a close up of what the Sarg 011 is. So these were JDM models back about 6 years ago, which stood for Japanese domestic market models. It's not so much a thing anymore. Now they've gone with their prestige lines and everything else, and they release things pretty much globally. I think they quit doing the JDMs because people would just buy them in Japan and then sell them to Americans and Europeans and everybody else. So they were just creating a premium market that they weren't seeing any of the market value out of, which would explain why now they just release that quality of watches and add the extra money themselves to it. A current model Seiko Pro Specs professional um, specs watch retails now for about $600-700. But back in the day, only 6 years ago, you could get these JDM models like the Sarg 011 for about $350, $330 shipped. And that's because, like I said, people in Japan would buy them and then they'd resell them on the gray market. So Seiko got wise to that and they eliminated the gray market. Why I might never wish to sell my Sarg011 JDM model? Because it was actually my first purchase into the mid-level watches. Now, if you're not too clear on mid-level watches I consider any watch that's basically above $200 and maybe say around or below $1,500. It comes with a certain level of fit and finish, sapphire crystal, fit and finish to the case, and a higher movement that you're going to not get in a sub $200 watch. In this case, this watch has the 6R15 Seiko movement, a very robust hacking hand winding movement. But I'm going to tell you what makes the Sarg 011 so special. Well, the watch community was aware of these JDMs, like I was saying, back when I got into watch collecting. Around 6 years ago, I'd have to say. It's 2022 now. So that'd be about, what, 2016? Around 2016, I think I purchased my first couple of mid-level entry watches, including this one. And this was the first. This was the first one I bought. It wasn't the first that arrived. Actually, an Orient Enforcer arrived first. Arguably, you could say the Orient Enforcer was my first watch, but I hate to say it, but I sold it for a hell of a goddamn markup. I made hundreds of dollars on that watch. But I actually considered this because this was the first watch I decided hey pal, do you actually want to spend $300 on a watch? Is it, I grew up, eh, all right, let's just say poor. I grew up pretty poor, and your Walmart beaters were good enough for me. Your Walmart beaters, your Casios, your, you know, Timex, all of that. I mean, I think the first time I really went after a watch and splurged, I wanted a Citizen. I got a Citizen Solar titanium watch, and I think it was retailing for 300. And my girlfriend knew someone that worked at Citizen at the time, and she got it for me for my birthday, and she was able to get it for about 150 or whatever. I think I still have that watch, sadly. I really need to sell it because even for parts, it's worth about 50 bucks. But anyway, I never thought about spending $300 on a watch. Why would you? Mm. So yeah, I heard about these JDMs, Japanese domestic market only Seikos, and you had to either be in Japan or buy it off of somebody secondhand in Japan to get one shipped to the United States. And here's where I got lucky. I really like field watch style watches. Has 100 meters water resistant. It does not have a screw down crown, but still 100 meters. It's got sapphire crystal. And it's got these amazing visible indices. And they are all super bright lume. And they even went correct with making the date the same color as the dial. It's a black date, which is usually something that a lot of people pick on when they throw a white background on a black dial. So this really had it all. And this was the model that was released when I got into watch collecting. Now, I started doing diligent research of whether I should spend $300. $300 on this watch. And I jumped on it. And the reason why is not many of the watch community wanted this watch. They didn't want it because it resembled the SARG, the Sarg 009, the predecessor model, too closely. They didn't see why they would spend 300 more on this watch when they just bought the Sarg 009 if they liked the layout. The only difference between this and the previous model was instead of a shiny black dial, this came in more of a matte black dial. And to set it off a little differently, it had a fluorescent red tip to the second hand. That is literally the only two differences between this and its predecessor, the SARG 009. A slightly red second hand and a matte black dial. Most people were like, "No way, Jose! No way, Jose!" We are. If you like the field watch design with the very clear, very clear numerals and the minute track, it does have a nice clear minute track, and it's filled with so much of Seiko's proprietary lume that this thing just shines with the littlest amount of light, and it shines forever and ever. So anyway, back to my story. Well, I didn't have access to the Sarg 009. I got in years after, and when this model was current. So I said, hell yeah, I love this. Is my kind of watch. I like a field watch. I like a tool watch. I like something very legible. I like getting a lot for my money. I'll buy one. So I popped on, spent the 330 or whatever, somewhere just short of 350 shipped. And I bought the Sarg 011. Well, it worked out in my favor. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Well, as you know, watch collectors are fickle. And when there's a short supply of something, it drives the price up. Well, so few people in the Seiko community wanted to buy this since it was so similar to the very previous year's model that not many of these came into the United States of America. Not many came over across the pond, as they say. Not many crossed the ocean. Um, it's not that it wasn't a loved model. They absolutely love the Sarg 009, but they just figured they weren't getting anything more for their money to bother buying this watch. I got random pot lucky because I liked the design and I did not have access to the previous model. So I popped on it and I had it shipped from Japan for less than $350 shipped. Well, fast forward to today when JDM models are kind of extinct, and this is a discontinued model, its predecessors discontinued, several iterations past that are discontinued. They're not really playing this ball game anymore. Now on the secondary market, I see these selling if you have the original box, if it's in good shape. And like I said, I never once wore the original strap that came with it. I just left it in the box with the tag on it and just started throwing out my own straps because Seiko's not known for world class straps. So you can pick a leather, you can pick a NATO strap and dial it up. And like I said, that keeps it more pristine if you ever do wish to resell it. You can say, hey, I got the original strap, never worn ever. It's got the tag still attached to it. So that'll increase the value. But nowadays, these are selling at auction used because they're not available any other way for around $800. I mean, that's damn near $500 profit if I ever do choose to sell it. But like I said, there's sentimental attachment, being that I technically figure this to be my first mid-level watch. I know you've already heard me talk to death about my Tudor Royal being my first entry-level luxury watch. And that's something I want to go into detail in some of these videos about what I feel about mid-level watches and how much luxury they offer versus what is technically a luxury watch. And there's not a whole lot of difference, not at least at the entry level. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my Tudor Royal, and it definitely met all my expectations. Um, I can't say it exceeded them, but when I got into these watches, they definitely exceeded my expectation because they offer so much luxury at the sub $1,000 level. And you get a lot of luxury. I mean, you get the stamp, you got the stamped crown. A lot of these level watches now, which actually I just ordered a new Seiko and it's got drilled end lugs. This one doesn't. They weren't doing that on this level of watch back then. But I mean, you've got the hacking, you've got the hand winding, you've got the sapphire crystal, you've got multi-level finishes, you've got satin around the bezel, the bezel, you've got satin around the bezel, and you've got high polish finish on the sides. Very nice done. You've got an exhibition case back, which I'm not going to pull the strap out because the movement's not really that great. It's only interesting to someone that's getting into mechanical watches and hasn't really eyeballed what a mechanical movement is and all the awesomeness that it is. But yeah, there's a lot of luxury. There is, and not just this watch. I remember my first Swiss watch. I remember my Hamilton Khaki King, my Tissot's. They have a lot of luxury fit and finish at the bang for the buck of well under $500. I mean, but those prices are rising. Just like craft beer, craft whiskey, people are looking into something slightly more quality than their Walmart beaters. And now the Khaki King from Hamilton, I guess it's retailing for close to $600, upper 500. And I got that watch for definitely around 350 brand new in the box shipped. Just in 6 years, prices are going up on everything, especially everything of quality. But yeah, so anyway, I was reviewing my Sarg 011. I think we pretty much run that. I'm not going to pull out my Tudor Royale because I do that in just about every video, and it's sitting in the watch box. I think I'm going to leave it there overnight and wear something else to work tonight. Its spring power reserve will easily last it till the next day. And I haven't worn this in a while. I wanted this. I didn't buy this to be a work watch. I bought this to be a on the wrist, kind of your lazy day off watch, where you can just easily glance the time. I mean, the numerals are so large, they're so well loomed that they instantly glow in the dark, even in a low light room. This was my comfort watch. I don't even feel comfortable wearing this watch at work because it puts me in the mindset of like running errands around town, sitting around the house with a watch on my wrist. This is my comfort watch, and honestly, even with the increase of value, I paid below 350, and now they're retailing, not retailing, but gray selling on the secondary market used for at least around $800. If you have all the box paperwork, it's in great shape and the original strap unworn. Um, I contemplated selling this watch recently, and honestly, that's part of the reason why I wound it up and threw it on the wrist for a day just to see how I still feel about it. And I don't know. I don't think I can let go of this one from my collection just because it was my first entry into the mid-level, mid-tier watches, which, like I said, start out at around $200. That's where you clear out all the junk, and it drops off somewhere around below $2,000, probably around 1,500. You can start to get entry-level luxury watches retail for 2,000. If you get them on a discount or sale or deal, you can probably get them for right around gapping up with that 1,500 mark. I mean, for hell's sake, you can get the Tudor Royal in the steel model, no bells and whistles. You can get that for $2,000. You can even get the smaller sizes in under $2,000, and no one is ever going to argue that Tudor doesn't at least at the bottom of its day qualify as entry level luxury. And you can get in on that retail for north of 1,500 but below 2,000. So that's really the cutoff for mid-tier watches. And I did 6 years of these. I did 6 years of Seiko, Tissot, Hamilton, Victorinox, just you name it. Orient. Actually, I have to do an Orient review pretty soon because it's funny because Seiko bought Orient out. Orient's another Japanese in-house movement mechanical company that's been around since I think around either right after World War II, I think around the 1940s. I'm not thinking 1950s. But honestly, I hate to say it, but I really think Orient puts more effort into their watches than Seiko does at the end of the day. Seiko really has some serious landmines, pitfalls, setbacks, letdowns. Even for as great as Seiko is, which I'm not knocking them, they've made a movement in the world. In fact, Seiko innovated the watch world in the 60s with their quartz movement. They were the ones that brought quartz. And quartz still reigns to this day. I mean, it's only now just barely being overtaken by smartwatches. But Seiko also makes very reliable mechanical movements. But I don't think they put the care and love and effort that Orient does. And even though they bought Orient, they left the factory intact. They swapped some technology back and forth. a bunch of Seiko started showing out with power reserve indicators on their auto watches, which is an Orient technology. But they left the Orient factory, and I do own an Orient. Um, I think I only own one Orient right now. There is another model that I do wish to buy at some point when I have cash just to throw away and not care about. But yeah, we'll have to get into a discussion about Orient someday versus their parent company now that owns them, Seiko. But I actually think Orient is still going the extra mile to really, I mean, above and beyond care about product. I'm not saying Seiko doesn't care about their product. They absolutely do. In certain models, they do. This model in particular, like I said, this is a JDM. They made this for the Japanese domestic market. And back in the days of JDM, which is kind of fading away because they created that grayscale illegal market and they don't want to go there. So now they're just creating the same quality, releasing it everywhere, and upscaling the prices. Which we'll talk about my new Seiko I just bought at their marked up prices, which pretty much levels it out today with the JDMs of the past. But yeah, Orient. I just think they care about their image and their product and their customer just a smidge more. And yeah, I'll have to I will discuss that more when I review my Orient watch when I feel like doing that. But today's video was about the watch that got me basically into watch collecting. The Sarg011 by Seiko with the in-house 6R15 movement, and a very unique watch because there's not a lot of them in the United States of America. Nobody bought them. And not because they didn't love the design, it's only because it was too close to the model that came out a year before, the Sarg009, which had a shiny black dial and a cream colored second hand instead of a fluorescent red. So, and honestly, I hate to say it, but I think this one is the better watch. So now it's the rarer watch in this country. Will always be the rare because it's discontinued. But it has a touch of fluorescent orange. And it has an understated matte black dial. And I chose to slap it on this NATO strap. Nice black and red, also following the themes of the Japanese colors. Black and red. Kind of follows the theme of the dial. Black with the fluorescent red hand. So yeah, this is one of my favorite watches that I own. And honestly, I hate to say it, but I'll probably get it serviced and keep on owning it. I probably won't bother selling it, even though it's just goddamn near about tripled in value in the last 6 years. Too much sentimental value. I can't let it go. So, once again, we've run very long on this video, as I usually do. Coming up on a 25-minute mark. And I'm going to be signing off here. You see my nice anchor ring for my service in the Navy. Yes, I actually do like to seal wax seals with it. Bought waxes, sealing wax and everything for it. But alright, enough prattling on. I do want to cut this short right before the 25-minute mark, and we're in the last 60 seconds. Yeah, I love this watch. It's probably going to be a keeper in my collection. It's probably going to stay right next to the Tudor Royal that I bought and I keep bragging about and showing in just about dang near every video except for this one. Yeah, it marks a certain milestone of my watch collecting, and I don't think I'll be able to let it go, regardless of what value it increases to in the collector's market in the future. I mean, like I said, it's already sitting right at about the $800 mark, and I paid about $340 shipped, and it's going to remain in my collection. All right, This is Don Carlo, Excelsior Trading, signing out. See you next one. Click the subscribe.